Okay, good evening. It's Tuesday, October 28th. It's around 6 p.m. This is a meeting of the Wolfeboro Budget Committee. Tonight we're going to discuss, review the financial report, town manager's report, and also look at the rules of procedure. And let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead it tonight.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll now open the public comment section of the agenda. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. And now on discussion items. The 2026 to 2035, going to be a presentation with the CIP on November 5th. Anybody here planning on attending that?
Question, John, will this be a joint meeting with the select board?
No, I don't believe so. It's just up to, I don't believe it's a joint meeting. Hold on a second. Jim, do you have a comment?
So I think if you as budget committee members would want to give any input or ask any questions related to the CIP, then we would notice it as a joint meeting. If you're just planning on attending, I think if you're going to have a quorum present as well, you probably should have it noticed as a joint meeting. Your discretion, how you'd like to handle it. But I think if you're going to have a quorum, we need to notice it.
Okay, can folks check the calendar and see if they're available on the 5th?
Check and see. Are you available on the 5th of November for this
I'll
trip?
make sure I am.
Okay.
Look okay for everybody? You guys all set?
I think so.
Okay. Leanne, can you post that and schedule that for us? Okay, great, thank you. Bobby,
Just wanted you to speak closer to your mic.
what's that?
I just wanted you to speak more closely to your mic so we could hear. Thank you.
Okay, the next topic is the rules of procedure.
What time?
Excuse me, John. What time will that meeting be? Jim?
6:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, the next thing is the rules of procedure. We've gone through them the past couple of meetings, and I believe that the town attorney had one issue. Jim, can you clarify that?
Yeah, so I think the context of the issue was that it laid out in your existing rules and procedures that it was a chairman responsibility for declaring whether or not somebody can remotely attend. However, legally, I think it's anybody can have that request to attend remotely, and then if you do attend remotely, there's a process in which we have to follow for people to attend remotely, which involves them declaring their location, that they're alone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we can attach that to your minutes based on the the New Hampshire Municipal Association's recommendations on how to do such.
Did he give you any suggestions as to how to reword that, or do you have any suggestions?
Mr. Chairman, I have not had a lot of time to be able to focus on that, so
okay.
I do not.
Is the section that we have in the rules and procedures currently, is that the one that's been reviewed by legal?
That's correct.
So having read through it, I see nothing wrong with it, particularly, and I would, if it takes a motion, I'd move to approve that adjusted section.
Okay, just give everyone.
I'd make a motion to accept the rules of procedure as amended.
Second.
Okay, I'll open up for discussion.
I just want to add a point of clarification, since it was brought up by a citizen, I believe, that should somebody be attending remotely, they do not need to have their camera on. The audio just needs to be discernible and clearly heard by this group. Well, on both ends, the way that it reads in 91A.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'll just make one that this has gone to the town attorney, and he's not recommending that we adopt what we currently have that's highlighted in red. I think that we should probably redo that and try to make it fall into what the attorney's recommendation this time. Any other comments? Bobby?
Should you read what the attorney wrote, just so the citizens know what we're voting on and what the actual language is?
I believe that's currently the section that we have now.
Above it is strike.
Just see if I can find it. Jim, do you have that on your computer?
I do, but I don't have my computer in front of me this evening. I can run and get it if you'd like.
John, I have it right in front of me if you want me to read it.
Do you have it? Okay, great,
Yes.
thank you.
The expectation is that every member should physically be present at a Budget Committee meeting to exercise their vote. In rare occasions where it is not reasonably practical for a member to attend in person, the chairperson may choose to allow remote participation. It shall be up to the sole discretion of the chairperson to determine, in accordance with RSA 91-A:2(3), parens A, whether it is not reasonably practical for a member to attend and whether remote participation is appropriate. If the chairperson chooses to allow remote participation, a quorum of the committee must still be physically present at the physical location specified in the meeting notice, unless in case of emergency as defined in RSA 91-A:2(3), parens B, and the meeting must be conducted consistent with the terms of RSA 91-A:2(3), parens C, and all votes shall be taken by roll call vote.
John, so Nathan Fennessy, the town attorney, said, "I am concerned about leaving it to the discretion of the chair to decide whether remote participation is allowed without some standards as to how the chair should apply that discretion. The current language used is also ambiguous as to whether the individual attending remotely will be entitled to vote. Below is what I would suggest instead." So that was Nathan Fennessy's.
Any other comments? Leanne, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
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 No?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, so I guess,
And, John?
yes, Suzanne?
These need to be signed and dated by you and taken to the town clerk to be recorded and date stamped on here.
Yes, thank you. I guess now we can entertain a motion to adopt the policies and procedures for the Budget Committee as written with just that correction on. We have to wait another meeting? Okay, very good. Thank you. So I guess we'll take the final vote on this at our next scheduled meeting. Okay, how about a report on the assigned departments? Who's spoken to who concerning the 2026 budget request?
Let me go first.
Yes, go ahead, Robert.
So me and Tom Bell met with the police, I mean, not the police, the fire chief and the 2 deputies about a month ago, actually. Their budget is fairly well intact. There's no issues there. Their portable radios, and maybe the town manager can elaborate on this when I'm done. They've switched. They're going to go from Motorola's to Kenwoods, which will solve their communication problem. But they were trying at that time to get it out of the capital reserve. They have some money in the capital reserve. The Kenwoods versus the Motorola's were a lot cheaper. So that's probably one of the bigger budget items the department has. Their ambulance is going well. I think they got it pretty well outfitted. The actual stretcher in that, instead of buying a new one, they refurbed it. They had a refurbed one put in, which there was some significant cost savings in doing that. So I think the intention is sometime in December, that process will start, at least the first phase of it. So, but no surprises that I'm aware of in their budget, and I'll refer to the town manager as far as those portable radios.
Thank you, Bob. How much of those radios do you recall how much they were going to be?
So they had came in front of the Board of Selectmen sometime within the past month. There was a request for a capital reserve appropriation in the neighborhood of $150,000, to which the Board of Selectmen authorized that expenditure out of the capital reserve fund, which has a balance of about $380, I believe. So those radios have been ordered.
Quick question, Mr. Town Manager. So that will come off the CIP spreadsheet, correct?
It'll remain on the CIP spreadsheet.
But its funding will change.
It's being ordered
Okay.
as part of the 2025.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to report? Suzanne, Ryan, and I met with some folks from town government, in particular the town clerk, the tax collector, the finance director, and also the health officer. We're going to have to schedule probably another day and a half to finish everything up. I think we were there for about 4 hours just doing those, 4 departments. Their budgets look good. There is an increase, but the increase was explained by each department head, and I believe I was satisfied. Suzanne, were you okay with those budgets that we reviewed?
The only one that I saw that we kind of stumbled over was Brenda's. That she shot one staff person.
Right, correct. And are you hoping to fill that position, Jim?
I am hopeful that we post that position January 1st in that time frame. to look toward filling it toward the end or beginning of 2026.
Very good, thank you. Any other reports? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Jim, can you give us a status of the town finances?
Sure. So Sam had another commitment this evening, so I'm here to present to you the finance report that Sam presented to the Board of Selectmen dated October 10th, 2025. If you have specific questions, I will try to answer them for you. If I can't, I will take the question and go to Sam and get a definitive answer for you. So this report is effective for the appropriations and revenues for the month ending September 30th, 2025, based on the approved budget. Represents 9 months or 75% of the year. The general fund is 80% expended, with 52% of the revenues received to this point. As you're well aware, we're in the process of, or we've completed the reevaluation. It's my understanding that the reevaluation has been certified by New Hampshire DRA, and we're in the process now of updating our revenues, anticipated revenues for 2025, so that we can move forward to get a tax rate set. Obviously, those revenues will increase as we send out the second round of tax bills. So right now we have no concern and feel comfortable with where we're at on the general fund. Water fund is 82% expended, with revenues at 118%. Some of that is relative to some grant funding, and I got a couple questions out to the auditors to clarify what those grant funds are actually can be used for, or if they were for previous years. But we are, it appears based on both the audit report and the finance reports, the revenues for the water fund are sustaining that enterprise fund very well. Municipal electric, 82% expended. Year to date, revenues are at 76%. MED continues to operate a good platform. Again, their audit report came in well. They have a healthy fund balance, and we appear to be in good shape with that department moving forward. Sewer fund, this is an area of concern. So we have 103% expended year to date. Here's some of the issues that we have with that. One of the items with the default budget, the contract operations for the wastewater treatment plant, creates a shortfall within the operating budget. And secondly, the not Mill Street, excuse me, the Laner Street pump station came in slightly over budget. I want to say to the tune of about $79,000 on that just shy of $2 million project. So we had to absorb that in the enterprise fund. With an enterprise fund, you do have the luxury of overexpending, with the hopes of being able to capture offsetting revenues in following years. We have reached out to New Hampshire Municipal Association and DRA to give us some clarification on a couple questions we have about year-over-year deficits or additional revenues to get a better handle on that and get some clarification. Pop Whalen Fund, 112% expended and committed to this point. This enterprise fund is actually doing quite well, with the caveat that in January of 2025, we had a fairly large expense associated with the chiller that ended up costing us about $90,000 to repair. If it was not for that failure of the chiller, this enterprise fund would actually be sitting in very good position this year. They did open up a little bit earlier than normal, and Brian Paul has been able to attract a wide array of users to the arena, and him opening earlier, if I remember correctly in his presentation to the board, he created $16,000 of additional revenue from what the expenses were for that fund. So all in all, right now, we feel the budget is tight, but we feel comfortable in being able to land it short of one outstanding item in the general fund, which I'll get to in a matter of minutes, which some of you may be aware of. Other than that, we feel pretty comfortable with where we're at on the budget. I can try to answer questions for you or get very clear answers from you in the coming day or two from Sam.
Okay, any questions for the town manager? Bobby?
Can I just ask a quick question, just because I personally need clarification? You just stated that our revenues would increase after our reevaluation went up. I don't quite understand how that happens. I mean, if we're a set budget, wouldn't we still be taxing that amount of the budget? And how would our revenues go up based on some of the home values up, some down, some stay level?
Fair question. So let me clarify that. What I meant by that is on the cover page that Sam provided you in her financial report, it indicates that we've expended or committed 80%, and year to date we've collected 53% of the revenue compared to 75% through the year. We will see an increase in our revenue line once the tax bills are sent out to help get us to that 100%. So if I didn't articulate that clearly, I hope I just cleared it up for you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? I've just got one, Jim, on payment in lieu of taxes. Do you know how many properties that is that are doing that? Any idea?
I don't right off the top of my head, John. I can get that answer for you. Additionally, I think you see a lot of tax-exempt properties as well, which the Board of Selectmen went through a process the other day looking at a number of tax-exempt properties to approve that based on information provided to the assessing office. I can get you the exact number of entities with pilots. Maybe Brian knows.
I don't know that exact number, but I know I did some calculations looking at our audits and our MS1 form, I believe. 1.3% of our total value of our properties in town are tax exempt, either by being a nonprofit, a church, a school, whatever, or they're given for elderly, blind, veteran, or other purposes. So it's 1.3% of our total tax revenue falls under, no, hold on, my mistake. Got two calculations in my head. It's 0.18% of all of our properties. It's 1.3% of our revenues come from commercial and industrial properties, but it's only our exemption that we give out is 0.18%. So it's less than 1/5 of 1% is of our total value of the town. Tax revenue is what we give out to tax exemptions. So it's a very, very, very small portion. That includes Brewster Hospital and all the exemptions for elderly and all that. I was calculating two things at once, and so they crossed in my brain. And then for municipal and industrial buildings, based on their valuation, it comes out to 1.3% of all the revenues that we receive.
Thank you, Brian. Any other comments or questions? Bobby?
So, what was our last meeting? September 15th. I had asked about the assessor coming before the board to help us understand the reevaluation, and you said after everything was settled with New Hampshire DRA. Now that that's in place, is there a way that Todd can come before us and just sort of help us understand so we can help the citizens?
Sure. So my intention on that is to have him come to you to explain that the same night that he presents his budget to you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Town manager report.
Okay, so a couple of items. I'll get to the 2026 proposed budget in a minute, but I want to cover an item that is going to have an impact on our community and the board, that you as the budget committee, I'm going to request that you weigh in on. A couple of, on October 1st, we received correspondence from School Care, who is our health care provider for our employees, of an assessment that we need to pay relative to our health care premiums. School Care has found themselves in a precarious situation with their reserves, and as a result of that, they are coming to the communities and asking for a 12% assessment on our rates. That equates to $377,448.52, monies which we will not be able to make up in the 2025 calendar budget year. I did broach the Board of Selectmen on this, and if you recall, 2 years ago, we came in front of you under RSA 3211, emergency expenditure and over expenditure of the operating budget. Board of Selectmen have authorized me to initiate that process. So my intention is, now that we have the audit report in, drafting that letter, and as we go through the budget process, to have you as the Board of the Budget Committee review that letter and authorize and sign that to go to New Hampshire DRA. This is a very challenging situation. We have been working with legal on this, and the way that they have presented this to us, we have to pay it by December 31st, or after that time frame, we will be issued a penalty on the assessment. Further, if we do not pay it and we get into, I believe it's June of 2026, they will stop paying claims. The tricky part of this as well is we are in a position where we're waiting for the 2026 rates to be set. Traditionally, we've used 10% as a placeholder. That is what's in the budget right now for 2026 for the Board of Selectmen to consider. The fact of the matter is, I know that the other provider to municipalities just hit Conway with a 25% increase on their health insurance for 2026. I'm very concerned about what that number is going to be. We usually hear that the second week in November. And how we're going to get through that, it is going to be a real challenge. So the takeaway at this point is, Board of Selectmen have authorized me to initiate the emergency expenditure over expenditures. I will be drafting a letter to utilize fund balance when we did this a couple years ago, our fund balance was not healthy. Right now, our fund balance as of the 2024 audit is $5,916,166. So we have a healthy fund balance to be able to use this. I have instituted for better term, a spending frost. I've asked department heads to really scrutinize their expenditures. I'm scrutinizing their expenditures as well. And we're actively looking to fill vacant positions, but we're looking to fill those slowly, given the fact that healthcare costs, retirement system costs, and employee costs are the driving force of our budget. It's not good news at all. So expect to see that letter coming in front of you as you begin your budget committee deliberations in the coming weeks for consideration of signature to send to DRA. I can try to answer questions that you might have.
Bob?
Yeah, Mr. Town Manager, I'm assuming we're looking at other providers, but is school care an exclusive provider? I mean, we got to go with these people, or do we have other options, I guess is my question.
Very good question. So there used to be 3 providers in the state of New Hampshire who provided health insurance for municipalities, School Care, Health Trust, and the interlocal. 2 years ago, the interlocal folded up. They closed shop. I can tell you Conway has Health Trust, and they were just hit with that 25% increase. We're not in a good position at all. And then the question also becomes, do we want to, over the next year, look at private options for health insurance? I think we have to open every door to try and figure this thing out.
I guess that was my question. I mean, apparently there is, for lack of a better term, a monopoly on the municipal health insurance in the state of New Hampshire.
They're risk pools, and, that's how they, for a period of time, were able to provide us very attractive rates.
Well, it's kind of interesting that of the 3 providers, one is in trouble, another one is folded up. I mean, what's happening with the other municipalities?
They're struggling with this just like we are.
Okay, all right.
Bobby?
So Brian, I know you know, can you elaborate just for the board and for the people out there who are paying attention that this not only affects our line here and our budget at this level, but we're also talking about the funds that will go to GWRSD for school cares? Do you have those numbers? Just because this is bigger than just the $377,000.
So 3 or 4 months ago, I heard rumblings, and I pulled school cares documents through a 91A request. And I have a different opinion than our attorney, but I won't get into that. I talked to Lisa Duquette, who's the executive director of school care. She told me flat out that in November of 2024, they knew, school care knew, based on 2 different audits, that they were going to be upside down on their numbers in 25 and 26. We also need to know that a risk pool is not underneath DJ Betancourt's insurance division in New Hampshire. It's under the Secretary of State's David Scanlon. So Dave Scanlon has been watching these risk pools. He saw what happened to the interlocal. He knew in 2024 what was happening with school care. There's 90 different schools and municipalities that are in the same position as we are. They waited until after all of these 90 had re-upped their contracts and then waited 3 months before they told us that they were upside down. I don't like it at all. It ticks me off. It feels to me a lot like when there was a bailout of the financial institutions in 2008 and a bailout of airlines over and over again and bailouts of the auto industry. They made some financial mistakes, like a lot of groups did, I think, during COVID when there was flush money coming through the system, and didn't figure that things were the economic status was going to change. And now that they're upside down, they're looking for a bailout from the citizens of New Hampshire, from the municipalities and the schools. And I'm not very pleased with it. I encourage everybody to call the Secretary of State's office and find out what the hell happened. Oh, and sorry, to answer Bobby's question, the school district as a whole is in the hole for $167,000. 37.7% of that ends up being the cost for the town of Wolfeboro. Our total cost ends up being about $950,000, I believe, to the citizens of Wolfeboro for increase in insurance and benefits for the school department and the town combined.
Justin?
I would assume in the contract that there is some clause that says that they can do this, right? But is there no limit to a cap on the percentage in any given year?
There is not. They've always suggested the 10% placeholder, and they've always really held to that. Some years we've seen literally less than 2% increases. But I think we are at a time when they are in trouble and puts us in trouble. So I do know that our attorney is communicating with people at the state level. He's communicating with school district attorney. So there's some collaboration which is taking place, but I'd really rather not get into the details of those at this point.
The last strange piece is when we re-upped our contract, we put a 10% placeholder in. Came in at 9.1%, wasn't it, Jim? It was like 9.1. But they already knew then that they were upside down and that something was going to happen after we renegotiated the contract, or not renegotiated, excuse me, extended the contract. And they extend the contract for all municipalities and schools at the same time. It's the end of June, correct, Jim?
It is the end of June. They let us know in second week in November, and we traditionally sign the contract around the first or second week of February. I will also say that we did go out to evaluate health insurance providers. It was either, I think it was late 2022 or late 2023, and it was prudent that at that time we stayed with our existing provider.
Is there any chance that they're going to right the ship, or are they going to continue to be upside down, and we're going to be faced with this annual assessment, if you will, which is nothing more than stealing the money out of our pockets?
My question is, if we all have insurance. We have insurance on our home, we have insurance on our cars. Insurance industry is supposed to be regulated. If you have no claims on your car and no claims and nothing extraordinary happens to you, your insurance companies can't just all of a sudden charge you 12% in the middle of the year because they made financial mistakes in their management. So I don't understand any of that. I do know, and Sam, our finance director, got a letter saying that our next year we're looking at a 16% increase. So we're going to pay a 12% assessment on this year, and we already had, for this year, a 9.1% increase, and now next year, they're looking at a 16% increase for us to get a new contract with them.
If my math is correct, that's something around 30% cumulatively.
Bobby?
I just have a quick question, Jim. The 377 that we're talking about, does that take us from July 1st to June 30th? Is that what you're saying, or are we on a calendar year?
So this standalone assessment is based on the rates of 2024, which ended June 30th, 2025. It's based on that appropriation, and it's my understanding that this is a standalone assessment that should not have an impact on the future rates. That's why they did it as an assessment, is my understanding. We will know more when we get the document second week in November that outlines what those increases are.
Right?
Jim, what effect, if any, does this have on our current standing collective bargaining agreements with the employees?
At this point, there is none. At this point.
I assume we don't have, or the town doesn't have the leverage like we were trying to work with when we had a similar situation with the fire apparatus was under construction and they wanted to go beyond the cost of the contract that we entered into.
So that's one of the things that Nathan is looking at, the town attorney. And I'll just sit here and say it. If we get a rate increase, as Brian has alluded to, of 16%, I don't think there's, I think that gives us, meaning the town, the opportunity, and I think we have to look at impact negotiations. I do not want to do that. I really do not want to do that. But if we get hit with something like that on top of this, I don't think we've got any other choice. Not that I want to do it, because I don't, but let's just cut to the chase. I think we have to. Which will be a Board of Selectmen decision.
Go ahead.
Just knowing that one of the companies went defunct, bankrupt, is that, so is it conceivable that if they are truly in this financial position and the members don't pay, would they be in a similar position? And I know this is, you can't speak for them, but where does that put us in terms of a contingency plan or emergency plan? And I'll be honest, I don't know much about it. I mean, are they somehow able to carry out at least the length of the contract before that happens, and then we're just scrambling for next year? Or could it, doors shut and lights
You bring up
go off?
a really profound statement, right? If people fight this and they're already low in their reserves and they have a good few months without any claims, all right, they may be able to weather the storm. We all know what medical costs are, and if they get hit with a couple of catastrophic claims, I can't answer that question, but I think we can all surmise what might happen.
Suzanne?
Yeah, have you reached out to the other towns that are in the same predicament to find out perhaps you all join together and address this collectively.
So I've had a couple of conversations with a few different town managers. One of those conversations was our school district went to a private. We're looking at the same. That's not going to solve the problem. We're just kicking the can down the road by doing that. A couple of the other ones have said, they've got us, we're paying this. Our problem that we have here is our plans are so costly that that percentage increase is significantly higher. That dollar increase is significantly higher compared to the other communities because of what our plan is, based on language which has remained in the collective bargaining agreements for a very long time about a HMO plan that we have not been able to get out. The plan that is laid out in the collective bargaining agreements is very specific, which is very problematic.
Bobby?
So I just want to go back and just reiterate, we're talking about $377,000 that our town needs to come up with for the assessment on this. And that figure translates to real human lives, to our employees who will not be covered moving forward. We all in this room know that our unassigned fund balance is $5.9 million. That's just for our general fund. We also have the $5.5 million sitting in the municipal electric department. So when we're talking about that $5.9 million, that's really 23.6% of our budget that we're sitting at, that very healthy number. So I just want to make sure that when we're talking about signing this letter and we're talking about humans, real humans and their health insurance, that we realize that our town is sitting on a very healthy unassigned fund balance. And if we're going to talk about rainy days, I would think taking care of our employees is really a rainy day.
Brian?
So, you're correct, Bobby, and we need to take care of our employees. There has been discussions about buying down the tax rate, too, with some of that. This is going to cut into that because of that. And I'm not about taking away health insurance from our employees. Our employees need to be safe and secure, and their families need to be safe and secure. What gets me is that this should be on the state. If the Secretary of State is monitoring these risk pools, he's either asleep at the wheel or he doesn't give a about us and about 90 communities and schools in the state. That's just not right. Is it just an assault on the insurance company? Is it an assault against the towns and the school districts? So that maybe instead of covering our employees the way municipalities do, we cover them more like the private sector, where they have higher deductibles and they have bigger payments and they get less coverage? I don't know. But the whole thing to me stinks, and personally, I think the state is responsible for this. They knew in November of 2024 what was going on, and they didn't tell anybody about it. And that, to me, doesn't pass my stink test.
I have one more comment.
Bobby?
Just one more quick comment. Did everybody watch the October 15th select board meeting when, I just lost his name, Tim Green, presented the audit? Did you guys all have a chance to watch the audit presentation? If you haven't, then I suggest going back to the October 15th select board meeting and watching when he reported back the audit, because I think it'll make everyone feel a little more secure where we are financially in our town.
Okay, any more comments?
Can you just state the penalty again for the, what was it, December 1st?
So we have to December 31st to pay. If we don't pay, there's an interest charge. They have a incremental process as to what that penalty is going to be, which culminates with, I believe it's June 1, 2026. If it has not been paid, then they will stop paying claims. My intention is to pay this by the end of the year if we are legally bound to do such.
And the numbers for 26 would be in November, you said?
Yeah, so we should have those, it's usually the second week in November. They have their board meeting, at which point the rates are released to the communities.
But the contract wouldn't be executed until,
So usually they will provide us the letter that we agree. Usually the first or second week in February, it has to be signed and returned to them. And, you know, that lays out what the plan, the medical plan that we are using for our employees will be. Obviously, if something comes in much higher and there's impact negotiations and we're able to negotiate to a different plan, we would try to do that. But there's a lot of moving pieces here.
so once the contract is executed, that's it for 26, should that happen?
Correct. So that's one advantage we do have with us being on a calendar year and them being on a fiscal year. They give us the rates in November that go into effect on July 1 for the following 12 months. So that is an advantage that we have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
one other question. Jim, I'm not going to assume anything, but in your budget for these line items of healthcare costs, will you have the numbers from school care you said in November? Will those numbers be reflected in your budget?
So right now, a 10% adjustment is reflected in the budget. Now, if you were to look at the budget, you're going to look at that and look at the 2025 number and say, that does not come into alignment.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is change in staffing, a family plan versus a single plan. There's about a $20,000 differential there.
Okay.
So that's where you see some of those numbers don't make sense. That's one of the reasons why, if you recall, I think it's 5 years ago now, we broke this out into a standalone budget because it was previously in every single budget. And when we had to make that adjustment, we had to make that in every single budget, which
Right.
made your budget books obsolete. Now all we have to do is reprint one tab, and then you have that cost.
Okay. But the new rates will be in the budget that we're going to be looking at. Is that correct or not correct?
It will be by the time you approve your budget and vote on it. It won't be when you get your books.
Okay, but we'll know what the real number is going to be so we can question it at the time.
Yeah, I think, I don't remember when your first meeting is, but it's like the 13th,
No, it's you
something
know,
like that.
it's within a couple of days, I know, but I would like to make sure that we have those new numbers reflected in that budget so that we know what we're dealing with.
As soon as we get them, we will update everything, and we will provide that to you. Right now, it just simply shows a 10% holder.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Justin?
But Is it the assumption that this is not a one-year assessment? I think you said that, Brian. There might also be an assessment in '26, which they may not reveal until
No,
November.
what I said is, they came back to us and told us that there would be a 16% increase in rates for this new contract, but they've kind of set a precedent that the contract doesn't mean much.
Right, why do they call it a contract?
Yeah, why do they call it a contract? Great, Brian. We can sign anything that we want, and they have the free hand to charge us an additional 8, 10, 12, 15% during the year. I don't know if our legal can make it so the contract is locked in place, but then they can just say, well, we're closing up shop, see you later. It's a horrible situation. I'm not happy with it.
Bobby? Got something?
Jim answered my 10% question.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, so that wraps up that item. Regarding the budget process with the Board of Selectmen at this point, I'll just give you a quick overview. They will be meeting tomorrow night with some revisits. I'm not sure if they will vote on the budget tomorrow night or if they'll do it on their following meeting. They have to do it by the 5th so that we can get the books, the documents completed and the books printed for you guys. We're hopeful that they'll be out that Friday or the following Monday. But right now, I'll just summarize very quickly where we're at. So the 2025 proposed general fund budget is $21,441,504. That's an increase of $2,377,237, or 12.5%. That does include the 10% placeholder for medical insurance. The other thing that includes is, if you recall, last year we approved 2 collective bargaining agreements. Those rate adjustments were not in the 2025 budget, so that's really 2 years worth of raises for the collective bargaining units, and literally 3 years of raises for the non-union staff. And then a lot of it as well is bringing on the contract for solid waste. We've got all the running figures broken out by series, but that's where that sits right now, is a 12.5% increase on the general fund. Water fund, currently $1,791,452, an increase of $168,707, or 10.4%. The good news on the water fund is that revenues seem to be holding very solid, and this does not impact the tax rate. Electric fund, $10,977,262, an increase of $225,382, or 2.1%. Electric department, they're in the process right now of negotiating purchase power agreement, which would take effect in January of 2027. So we're working on that now, but the rates are running solid and we're in good position there. Sewer fund, proposed $1,947,197, an increase of $149,263, or 8.3%. Again, one of the big drivers here is that contract we have with the operators that has been removed as part of the default budget. Pop Whalen, $497,967, an increase of $84,712, or 20.5%. One of the big drivers here is, you might remember a couple years ago, we had the salaries for the director broken out partially in this budget and partially in the Abenaki budget. We learned very quickly that model was not working well, so we sat down, we discussed the operation, and we hired a standalone director for the arena, which a lot of that is wage adjustment, and the assistant director handles the Abenaki ski area, and that seems to be working out quite well. So the overall increase, or the overall budget right now as proposed, $36,655,364, an increase of $3,005,301, or 8.93% across all funds. So that's a breakdown of the budget that does not include capital outlay. The other thing that I would sit here and say, in case you are watching, you may have heard it, I have suggested to the Board of Selectmen that we consider breaking these funds out into individual warrant articles. That gives greater transparency to what it actually costs to run the general fund. We can have that standalone warrant article for the general fund. We can have that standalone warrant article for the water fund, electric fund, sewer fund, Pop Whalen fund. There's a lot more conversation that has to take place about that, but that's an option that we're looking at, and I think it does add transparency to the voter to drive home that, look, while our budget is $36 million, 21 of that is on your tax rate. The rest of it is paid for by user fees. So we're working through this. We're trying to get this thing down, but that's where we sit today. And again, we will be tomorrow evening taking public input. Board of Selectmen will be. I'm going to give a quick overview of where we're at on the budget. It'll be a PowerPoint, and then we will take input, and the board will have conversations about their revisits, and if they want to make further cuts, or if they want to think about it and hold another meeting next week.
Mr. Chairman.
Bob?
Quick question, Jim. Is that 8.9 increase against the default of last year?
That is against the 2025 budget. Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can go for it.
I did a little research when we started talking about this, and this is not a unique idea, pulling out your enterprise funds. This is done in a lot of municipalities in the state. So it's not like Wolfeboro's reinventing something. This is done in a lot of municipalities, especially ones that have a lot of dollars in their enterprise funds, so that it is more transparent. So everybody knows that each one of those individual funds works separately from total, from your general taxation, and they are self-sustaining as much as possible. Some actually are very self-sustaining, some are very, very close, but it shows where the dollars are being spent in the town a lot clearer.
If I may, it makes a whole lot of sense to me to break out those enterprise funds as separate warrant articles themselves. It just does. And to your point, it gives us much more transparency.
I would also sit here, and Bob, you sat on CIP, you saw it, you know. I think that there's going to be some very, very hard conversations about the number of warrant articles related to projects. We need to get this budget passed.
Yep.
If we don't get this budget passed, there's going to be, it will be felt. We have not felt it the past 2 years, and not for all intents and purposes. Yeah, some departments have had some struggles, but at the end of the day, because of understaffing, I mean, the 2024 audit report paints a good picture. We underexpended our budget, total budget on the general fund by $500,000. But $330,000 of that was in health insurance because we were understaffed. So,
Yeah. Well, the only comment I have to make, and I'll keep it very brief, 8.9% increase in a proposed budget over a default budget, it seems to me, is a real good job. And this budget really needs to pass. It really needs to pass, because I don't think that increase is enough if it's sold correctly and the people, the voters out there understand that it is a proposed budget against a default budget of only 8.9 increase. That's pretty remarkable.
Well, and the other thing that we do have going in our advantage right now, and if you watch tomorrow night, you'll see it. We are heading in the right direction with debt service. You know, our general fund debt is dropping off this year by about $180,000. You know, the sewer fund, when Mill Street Pump Station comes on board, most likely 28, we're going to see an impact there. But for all intents and purposes, our debt service, which we as a community are allowed to bond up to 3% of our assessed valuation, we certainly don't want to do that based on what our valuation is. We are going in the right direction with debt.
And it shows up, I think, on the CIP spreadsheet that the debt service is relatively level, going down at a gradual rate. There's a couple of blips in there, but it's basically, if we tend to our knitting, I think we can manage this thing.
Yeah, and the slide tomorrow night will give you a graphic of, look, this is where our debt service looks like for the next couple of years. Obviously, if a bond comes forward, then that's going to be an impact. But again, minimizing warrant articles for 2026 for me is going to be a priority.
Any other questions? I have one for you, Jim. If you go to warrant articles for the enterprise fund, what, if anything, can the budget committee do to cut those to a small amount or making any cuts?
Same as you could today. So you'll go through them the same way. They'll just be separate warrant articles. So
Okay, so we'll still get positions and all that information.
nothing's going to change from your perspective other than the fact that you'll see 5 warrant articles for the operating budgets as opposed to 1. Now, we will gain some efficiencies on that if we so desire. What I mean by that is you traditionally see warrant articles for wastewater treatment plant. We could roll that into the standalone warrant article for the sewer fund. We see a couple, 2 or 3 warrant articles for water. We could roll that into the operating budget of the water fund if we so desired as capital outlays within those budgets, so they're one-time appropriations. Those are conversations that we can have as we unfold this thing.
Who will have the final word as far as approving if we go that way? Does it have to be a vote of the people, like you guys do it on your own? Or?
I think it's a Board of Selectmen's conversation in conjunction with the Budget Committee.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is the budget is yours. The warrant articles belong to the board. So I do think it's a collaborative conversation about doing it that way.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I would also just state that we've given this a flyby with legal counsel and very supportive of it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on. You should have the schedule for the upcoming meetings. Does anyone have any concerns or problems with the dates that we've picked? Does it work for everybody?
Can't be here all night.
The 17th? Anybody else have any days that they're not going to be able to make it this time? Any comments about the schedule? Okay, let's move on. You should have a calendar from the New Hampshire Municipal Association of the dates that we have to meet to finalize everything. I believe our schedule for the meetings and the deliberations and the public hearing meet the requirements of everything here the NHMA has. We'll have everything done by the dates required. Any questions about that? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Okay, any other business? Bobby?
I just have one thing that I just wanted to sort of open up for discussion and put out there, especially as we have entered this phase where agencies really are important in our community. We're seeing that with food insecurity right now and other issues. We were all at the agency meeting the other night, and I'm sure that we spent time looking at their financials and noticed that a couple of the agencies have quite large investments and they're doing great. And I understand why they come before us each year to make sure they're not losing funding, because not every year is a good year. But I'm wondering if at this time we should consider having a capital reserve account for agencies for issues like we're approaching right now with food insecurity, where instead of these agencies coming forward once a year and taking funding, that we actually have a capital reserve account that maybe in April they come forward and say, the government just cut SNAP benefits and we need to jump in and help out, for some of the agencies to come forward maybe for extra funding when other agencies may not have needed the funding. So I'm just proposing and putting it out there that it's something that we discuss in the future. So when we have an event like we're facing, and we're very lucky that the state stepped up today to say they would help with the SNAP benefits. However, it needs to be voted on by the executive council tomorrow, which I hope everybody reaches out to Joe Kenny and encourages him to vote yes to help support the 350 citizens in Wolfeboro who do receive SNAP benefits, that they'll reach out to Joe and have Joe be helpful with arranging those funds so we make sure that all of our children have food on the table. So it moves, I believe it would move us in a place where if we did encounter a situation like we're encountering right now, where an agency did not have to wait till once a year, and then when they were having a good year, they wouldn't have to come before us at the beginning of the year, only when they really desperately needed the funding.
Thank you, Bobby. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for September 15th, 2025. Any changes need to be made to the minutes? Bobby?
A couple. We had our meeting on September 15th here at Town Hall, so we need a correction from Wolfeboro Public Library there.
Thank you.
And then under section 3, Nathan Fedesi, it's just a typo, stated, and then instead of receive notes from their town, it's the town, and then one more, Leanne, instead of I stated, it should say she stated. But I'll show you where those are if you want.
Yeah, if you can just go through one more time. I've got the town hall. What pages are the other ones?
They're all on page 1.
Okay.
So on page 1, town hall, and then under section 3, there are just 3 small grammatical errors.
Okay.
That's all.
Any other changes? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adopt the September 15th, 2025
So moved.
minutes?
So moved.
With changes? Okay. Thank you. Leanne, a roll call vote, please. Bob Mahoney.
Yes.
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 Okay, now we'll move on to public comment. Anyone for public comment?
Nothing.
Seeing none, we'll move on to adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Your second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.